the New Statesman has published its endorsement special. Who are we endorsing and why? Give our listeners a sort of surprise inside take.
Well, George Eaton wrote the first draft of the leader. So, George, you go first.
We have endorsed Labour. Now, to many listeners, that won't be a surprise. The New Statesman has tended to. But this time round, it is notable, I think, because we didn't endorse Labour in 2019 for a variety of reasons, principally the handling of the anti-Semitism crisis. But also, I think we felt that we just couldn't in conscience argue that Jeremy Corbyn was the right person to be Prime Minister, as was true of a lot of Labour MPs. This time round, we feel that Labour's moved into a lot of the positions that we've held for years in our leaders. For instance, on economic intervention, we've called for a more active state, a more explicit industrial strategy, greater scepticism towards globalization, scepticism around foreign ownership, recognizing that public ownership can be of benefit in some areas, such as the railways. And the Conservatives have utterly discredited themselves over the last 5 years. In particular, obviously, the free market dogmatism of Liz Truss was a disaster. And we don't feel that Rishi Sunak has anything like the vision of national renewal that you need at this point for Britain.
Yeah, the leader inevitably is the work of many hands. It goes through multiple drafts because you want to carry the whole team with you on this. But there's been consistent positions the New Statesman has argued for. And it's, the Statesman is a heterodox liberal publication. We're open to different points of view. As you know, Rachel, you work here with us and write columns, and I embrace difference. I'm very interested in views from the left, even from the right, post-liberal views, sceptical views, traditional Fabian views. But the leader carries the voice of the New Statesman and therefore has to carry the team with you. So it's a collective effort. But there are themes that have run through our leaders for 10 years and more. Politics of the common good, reciprocal obligations, for example, a belief in kind of national economy, a strategic, even moral state, a realist foreign policy. If you go back and read our leader from 2019, which I recall at the time, kind of when it landed, it was landed like an atom bomb on social media, and we got a lot of criticism for it. But if you go back and read that leader, it's very coherent actually, and we're very consistent in our positions over many years. And the final quarter of the 2019 leader lays out what we think a good, potentially winning position would be for the Labour Party. And if you look at where the Labour Party is now, it's not too dissimilar from the positions we outlined at the end of 2019 and have continued to argue for over the years since. So we're pretty happy with this year's leader. It's a quieter, more reflective piece than 4.5 years ago, and inevitably hasn't been read in the same way as the previous leader. But I think it carries the voice of the New Statesman and articulates our positions very well. And, the Labour Party has shifted. And even to the extent of David Lammy, talking about a new realist foreign policy, which I explore in this week's magazine with him.
On the leader, it says that in seats where the Liberal Democrats are the strongest opponent to the Tories, readers should vote tactically. George, explain a bit about that messaging. I mean, this is kind of an election where it's not so much about voting for one party for many people. It's about the anti-Tory vote and how that can be used most effectively.
Absolutely. The logic of that is that we think that the precondition for a better Britain is the removal of the Conservatives from office. I don't think anyone thinks that another term of Conservative government would bring much good to the country.
I think even some Conservatives would agree with you on that.
They were saying the same in 97. Some time in opposition will do us good. Now, that means in electoral terms, under first past the post, we don't think that if you're in a seat where the Lib Dems are in a strong second place and Labour has no chance of winning, that you should simply just vote Labour out of abstract principle. The reverse applies. If you are a Lib Dem supporter in a seat where Labour are the strongest challenger to the Conservatives, you should vote Labour. So we often refer to tactical voting because it is how a lot of people approach the election. They don't have necessarily an overriding loyalty to one party. I mean, that is quite unusual in this more volatile era. Most people aren't party members, for instance. So I think you need an anti-Conservative front, particularly when it's not just that they've been a bad government, they've had a dismal campaign. And let's remember, Rishi Sunak called this campaign. And can anyone think of anything inspiring, he said, as an imaginative policy that will really improve the country. Instead, it's really been debacle after debacle.
Yeah, but George, on tactical voting, quite a few of our readers are Greens, they're Liberal Democrats, even moderate Conservatives,
and many up in Scotland as well.
And many we have a lot of readers in Scotland. I mean, the SNP have got their problems, they're different problems from Conservatives, but one could also say they've ruled very badly in recent times. They're mired in corruption scandals in Scotland. I mean, no one thought Hamza Yousaf was an impressive First Minister. Sturgeon lost control towards the end of her time in office. So look, we're saying to our readers, obviously make up your own mind. These are the positions we're arguing for, and good luck on July the 4th.